Welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin, looking at Marcello's Black Bay 58 Blue. This is probably one of the most popular modern Tudors, the Black Bay 58, both the black and the blue. Really beautifully shaped watches. You're going to see a lot of fingerprints in this video, so sorry about that in advance. No white gloves today. But this is nice and thin, especially compared to something like the Black Bay GMT, which gets complaints because it's a bit blocky. Of course, nothing like this Tudor, but we're talking modern Tudors, of course. So a very nicely shaped Tudor. Lack of crown guards give it sort of a nice look to it. And let's unscrew this very comfortable feeling crown. Give it a wind. Talk about the tactile aspects of the watch. Oh, wow. Very nice. Let me see if you guys can hear that. That has a fantastic wind, and let's hack it. Okay, all right. It didn't come out so cleanly. I'm going to give it another chance, all right? Okay, that was perfect. That felt perfect. Let me just do it again. I'm being very careful, but... Okay, so 2 out of the 3 pulls were incredibly satisfying, incredibly easy. That first one, maybe I didn't turn it back enough. Felt like the gears got a little hung up there. All right, let's see if we get movement when I push down the crown. Let's put it right at the 5. All right, hardly any. In fact, 0. That's excellent. All right, so very good feeling wind. Pulling out felt fantastic. No movement when you pushed in the crown. That's something that I think is a real issue with at least pre-ceramic Rolex watches. I don't know if the 6 digits are like that. All right, let's see how the watch feels when I wind it down. Okay, so when it first gets started, there's a little bit of rockiness that I can feel. All right, and I've done it a couple times. But once it starts, after that rockiness, it's very smooth, and then it screws down very nicely. And as far as the Tudor rose, that's really nice because you don't have sort of it upside down or right side up. All right, so let's check out the bezel action. That's an important tactile aspect of a watch. And all right, that feels really good. Decisive clicks. This is a 60-click bezel, no back play. 60-click bezels are kind of nice because they make sense. They line up perfectly with the minute markers and the indices. But if you're trying to line up the triangle with the minute hand, again, right now it'd be perfect because we're right at the 15-minute mark. But if it was right before that, well, you'd have to choose. You'd have to either go 15-minute mark or 14-minute mark. So I can understand the benefits of a 120-click bezel. So if I had to choose, I'd probably say 120-click is my preference. Also, I think if it's a 120-click bezel, it's a little easier for them to get the bezel straight. Let's see how this one does. All right, so here I am. It's 5 clicks away. I'm going to close my eyes and just click at 5. And let's see how it is. All right, that is a little bit to the left. And the first time I looked at it, I thought it was perfect, but it looks to be to the left just a little bit. Now, if you hold the watch like this, then it looks perfect. If you hold it like this, it looks really off, but I'm holding it completely straight, You can see it's right off to the left a little bit. And yep, you just have to let those things go, I guess. All right. As far as the crystal goes, wow, that's beautiful. Now this is a sapphire crystal. Would you say this is a domed crystal? Or so?
Hard to say, but they definitely have a step to create this kind of vintage speck of the hazelite crystal
Exactly.
that used to have this step up.
Well, that's exactly why they have it, because it does give it that vintage look along with the lack of crown guards. I like the fact that, talking back about the dial now, the minute marks are connected by that ring. That's beautiful. That's another real vintage aspect to it. And of course the aluminum bezel, which is beautiful. Love the font. I mean, it just reminds me of the pre-ceramic subs, and just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Now, as far as the blue goes, part of me says that this is perfect. Another part of me says that it could pop a little bit more. Now, it's a matte finish, and I think that's really nice and attractive. It's sort of low-key. Part of me likes the sunburst aspect, for example, on the pre-ceramic two-tone bluesies. But you can really go overboard with blues that pop, and I can't help but think of the Pelagos, the blue Pelagos. Now, that's too much for me, and if I had to choose, I'd go for a more subtle blue. So I think if I had to issue a complaint, I'd say just a hair more blue, just a little bit more pop. But you gotta be really careful there, because I wouldn't want them going towards you know, something like the Pelagos. The case shape is absolutely beautiful. Kind of reminds me of a pre-ceramic sub, and you've got, you know, the beveling right here, which is pretty pronounced, and nice thin lugs. And as far as the bracelet goes, a very nice bracelet. It tapers. Faux rivets. Now, I'm not a fan of the faux rivets. Give me regular rivets, real rivets, or just be done with it. But I think the faux rivets are too much and a real negative aspect of the watch. And look, I know they're going for the vintage aspect, but do it through real rivets or don't do it. That's the way I feel about it. All right, looking at the clasp, brush clasps, you can see that shape right there is reminiscent of the Tudor shield, Tudor branding on the flip lock, and you've got another sort of shield shape there, which is pretty clever. It's just a little bit tough, but look, that's a good thing, because it means it's strong and it's not going to pop out, and I can tell it wouldn't pop out. Now, it's interesting because you've got balls.
Ceramic.
Right, okay, ceramic balls in there, and as you push it in, those balls go in to the indentation right there, and those balls also hold down the flip lock. So really an upgrade in clasp here compared to, you know, something like this. Very nice watch, beautiful watch. And guys, let me know what you think about the Black Bay 58. Great modern Tudor, completely different than earlier Tudors. And you know, I compared the Black Bay 58 Blue, this watch, to a Hydronaut. And look, they're very different watches, very different eras. You're probably going for different things if you want a Hydronaut. You're probably going for different things if you want a Black Bay 58. They could work well in the same collection, although it might be a little bit too much Tudor dive watch. If you just want a good, attractive watch, maybe not zany, not funky, this is probably the way to go. And this could be a great travel watch. Although, what do you think? I mean, would this be as dangerous to wear in London as a Rolex, do you think? Well, I'd rather lose this in London than a Rolex watch, that's for sure.
I am very concerned of scratching the aluminum bezel, because it's aluminum and is much more stretchable and might create some scratches that I might not be satisfied about it, or maybe even very deep damage because it's aluminum.
Yeah.
And this a little bit concerned me. And for that reason, I would actually prefer if they would do ceramic bezel with this kind of very matte finish, and it's pretty much possible.
Okay, so right, a ceramic insert with a matte finish. I think we'll probably see something like that in the future, but it would definitely take away from sort of the vintage look of this watch. And I think that's one of my favorite aspects, the aluminum bezel, and you can see some, you know, interesting texture there, and so it'll be very interesting to see in the future if it fades and if it patinas and how these look after, say, 10 years of use.
When I damage this aluminum bezel, how much it will cost me to replace it to a new one?
That's a great question. Well, all right, so I took my 16710 to have the bezel insert changed out the other day, and I have to pay 40% to get the old bezel insert out, and that's going to make it 20,000 yen, just shy of 20,000 yen, which is about 200 USD. Now, again, that's including the 40%. So my guess is the bezel insert would be about the same, which is about $100, and then $50 for the service charge, and then of course you wouldn't be paying 40% to get this back, because I don't think they'd give you back the old bezel. Now the question is, if you just rolled in and you said, look, I scratched up the bezel, the watch is running perfectly, I just want another bezel, would they do it? That's a great question. I don't know if they would just change the bezel. I don't know if they'd require you to service the watch. It's kind of like if you rolled in and just said, well, all I need is a regulation. It's either service the watch or no. And so I don't know if the same thing applies to the bezel insert. I'll end with this. Beautiful watch, great Tudor option. Probably one of my favorite modern Tudors, and I'd love to see this shape in a GMT. So let's hope Tudor does that in the future. Thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time.